chances are you were eating the wrong thing for breakfast. I was told growing up,
breakfast is the most important part of the day.
You need to eat a big breakfast to fuel your day.
We all know that couldn't be any further from the truth. In fact, most current research tells us we should be eating more of our calories later in the day.
When it comes to the business of nutrition coaching, Jason is one of, if not the smartest people in the industry. But I simply have to disagree with the sentiment that most of the research indicates that we should eat the majority of our calories later in the day. So let's talk about what the science actually says. This study compared a high-calorie breakfast versus a high-calorie dinner, found that the breakfast group showed a greater weight loss and a greater reduction in waist circumference. This study looked at meal timings, effects on glucose tolerance, and a few other variables, and found that increasing caloric consumption later in the day is associated with a decreased resting energy expenditure, a decrease in glucose tolerance and glucose utilization, and a decreased thermic effect of food. This study, looking at the interactions between meal timing and obesity, found that higher dietary consumption after waking up and lower consumption closer to bed is actually associated with a lower BMI, and higher intake at dinner is associated with higher odds of being overweight or obese, and this is actually the most pronounced in those with a later chronotype, meaning those who actually prefer to stay up later in the day. This study looked at energy intake and its association with LDL cholesterol, and found that daily energy intake, as opposed to nighttime energy intake, is associated with a lower cholesterol. And every 100 calorie increase in nighttime energy intake is associated with a 1.08 milligram per deciliter higher LDL cholesterol. And they found that simply replacing energy intake at night with energy intake during the day is associated with a lower cholesterol. And this final study found that it is true that reducing energy intake during any portion of the day is an effective strategy to reduce overall caloric intake, but intake in the morning is particularly satiating and was the most effective at reducing total daily caloric intake and late night snacks. There's a lot more studies that actually indicate that eating the majority of your food earlier in the day does appear to be more effective than skewing your intake later in the day. At the end of the day, calories, macronutrients, and micronutrients are going to be the most important factors. But the science definitely doesn't support the idea that most of your calories should be coming later in the day. With that being said, if you would like an individualized approach to nutrition and lifestyle to optimize your health, energy, and body composition, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.